Hi everyone, I am Dr. Oneeka Williams. I am a healer, positivity catalyst, storyteller, and teacher. And welcome to the Ecosystem series. I'm really excited to be here with you all today. You know, my brain is constantly working and thinking about how can I make a difference? How can I kind of construct content in a way that helps to raise the bar in terms of how we're educating our children and educating ourselves and creating impact. And so I've come up with what I've called the Ecosystem series, which is essentially just a manifestation of the work that I've been doing with the Dr. Didi Dynamo series in a way of integrating science content with literacy and with these powers of positivity, and essentially creating an integrated educational model that I'm calling the Williams Integrated Educational Model. And really the Williams part is really paying homage to my parents, who have been a significant influence on the work that I currently do. And let me actually just tell you where this all started. Many of you might have heard my story, but essentially, I grew up in the Caribbean, was born in Guyana, have a twin brother, and was raised for the first 10 years of my life with this twin brother, where we essentially did everything together. My mom didn't even know she was having twins. And so we were essentially raised with no differentiation, boy versus girl. We did everything together. We had the same activities, we had the same friends, we had the same opportunities, and there were the same expectations for us. And when we moved to Barbados, where all of the better schools were essentially single sex, and that was true of Guyana once we transitioned from elementary to high school. My brother went off to the all boys school and I went off to the all girls school. And I knew I had an experience that essentially told me that I was going to be a doctor, and I needed to do physics in order to be a doctor. That was one of the prerequisites. And my brother was at the all-boys school and he was doing physics, and I was at an all-girls school and did not have physics as an option. And so I raised my hand, my parents advocated for me, and I transferred from the all-girls school to the all-boys school, where I joined the class not just to do physics, but also to essentially continue the rest of my education. And here's the thing that was really interesting about that, is that even though everyone was content, you know, in our all-girls environment, doing the things that we did, when I raised my hand, it was as if you don't know what you don't know until you know. And even though the culture and the practice had been that girls in that school did not do physics as a subject, once I raised my hand and it became clear that I needed to have access to something that was not traditionally available in that all-girls school, the entire system of teachers and administrators and governmental agencies mobilized around me in order to make sure and in order to support my goal of being a doctor and participating in or having access to physics as one of those subjects. And what that move did was that in that bold move for them to be able to think outside of the box and to support me, it then opened up the doors and opened up opportunities for other girls to then access the resources that were available to the boys, and we then became this integrated system of girls and boys essentially doing the same types of subjects and having access to the same types of subjects. And so what that brings to mind for me is that when I think about culture, which is a set of values and practices and habits and beliefs that essentially kind of create and are practiced within organizations and institutions that define their approach. It's almost a way of life. The culture in that system was a culture that really revered and valued education as the path to success. And so whether it was boy versus girl, in informing the practices that are consistent with the values of that culture, which was about making educational opportunities available to all, was the reason why this was so widely embraced. And so essentially, I grew up in what I call this ecosystem that is essentially recognizing that we're all linked and we're all interdependent, and there is an integrated way of approaching how we educate our kids in order to help them to be successful. So it's not just about the academic rigor. And what I understood is that my ability to be successful in that all-boys environment was really based not just on the access to the academic and the rigor around that, but it was based on a culture, it was based on an environment coming together to support me mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And really and truly, that allowed me to then mobilize those skills, those talents that really bring to bear what I'm supposed to do in this world to make a difference. And that is really the definition of success. How can we, in any environment, I mean, I'm going to be talking about this from the perspective of education, but you will see that this ecosystem is an ecosystem that can be applied in any environment, because essentially what it does is provide the environment and the tools in order to foster achievement of success in whatever environment that is. And so I am really excited today to bring you the ecosystem of learning. And of course, in true fashion, I always find some mnemonic in order to break down these principles so that it becomes easier to understand, and it becomes easier to just chunk them off in these little sections that connect in a way that are just much more understandable, and the information becomes much more manageable. So in order to create an ecosystem of learning which allows for this integration of the academic rigor or the intellectual, it allows for the integration of the social, development of the social components and aspects of ourselves and of our children, it allows for the emotional development, and then this is all in the context of how do we maintain healthy physical and physiologic operations of our bodies in order to be optimally ready to function every day and bring the very best that we can. So ecosystem, when I break it down, the first segment is the E. And E is for expectations. And expectations are very important in any environment. I think of the importance of setting expectations for whatever the construct is. So the E is for expectations. The C is for connect in community. And the research has shown we understand that connection is essentially one of the most important features and principles of how we live. The data shows that connecting and feelings of disconnection have significant impact on our overall sense of well-being, our overall sense of belonging. And so we're going to dig into the components of those that make a difference and have significant impact on how exactly we're able to optimize this ecosystem of learning. O is for organization. An organization encompasses executive functioning, it encompasses the abilities to set goals, it encompasses the ability to have mental flexibility, working memory, and the ability to exert self-control. We're going to go into that a lot more. The S, first S, is to stimulate critical thinking. And we can't emphasize enough the importance of kids being able to integrate information, to process it, and then apply it to making decisions, and how that all plays together in an ecosystem of learning. The why becomes, who are you? How do you discover who you are, and what is your why? And we have to understand this notion of being connected to something larger than ourselves, and understanding that we are all here with a purpose to serve and to understand the why of who we are. The other S is for the importance of really fostering problem solving, because we live in a world where essentially our abilities to problem solve are critical in the steps of creativity and innovation. So we want to really integrate that into this ecosystem of learning. The T is for treasure chest thinking. We have to encourage a feeling of self-worth, and we have to do what I call the inside out, that so many times we are so subjected to metrics that are external and the pressures that come from external expectations without developing this sense of self-worth. And so I'm going to basically take you through this treasure chest thinking about how do we structure the messages that we deliver not only to our children but in any work environment in order to optimize the ability to be productive, that you have to feel this sense of worth. And so treasure chest thinking is an important part of that. The E is for creating an environment of positivity. And you guys know I've been ringing the Habits of Positivity bell for years. Dr. Didi Dynamo, my girl super surgeon, part of her powers come from these powers of positivity. And we have the data that shows the importance and the connection of positive thinking to overall well-being in terms of health, in terms of achievement, in terms of both mental, emotional, and physical health. And so we'll unpack that more and create more tools to be able to bring that to bear in the classroom. And then the M is for role modeling and representation, and the importance of us being able to show that you can't be what you can't see. And so we have to bring diverse images into any educational construct for the messages to be delivered to everyone that they are valuable and that they can certainly achieve and be productive and constructive in a learning environment. So this ecosystem of learning is going to take you through all of these different considerations, all of these different principles. I'm going to give you a bunch of tools that you can use in order to both assess where you are and then introduce strategies in your classroom or in your work environment, in your home environment, in order to build towards this ecosystem of learning. So I'm really, really excited to bring you guys on this journey with me today. I hope that as we deliver and as we generate the various series and as we generate the components that will come to you in an intermittent fashion, that you will be able to take away a lot of pearls and will be able to incorporate them into your daily practice, both at home, at school, and in your workplace, to achieve an environment which is really conducive to learning and to promoting the very, very, very best output and the very best experience for our kids and for anyone in an environment where there is learning that is a critical part of being successful and achieving goals. And you know I'm a big proponent of lifelong learning. Learning never stops. So this ecosystem is an ongoing process that can be applied every day in whatever setting that you see yourself. So thank you so much for listening. Look out and listen out for the rest of the series. This is Dr. Oneeka Williams, and you know my tagline, not even the sky is the limit.